Prime Minister, as you recall, was profoundly forward-leaning and outspoken about the importance of invading Iraq under George W. Bush, and we all know what happened with that decision.
All right, folks, there is the Secretary of State trying to impugn Benjamin Netanyahu's judgment on Iran because he supported the Iraq war, as did Senator Kerry at that point. Joining us now, Elliott Abrams, Senior Fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations, former Deputy National Security Advisor for President George W. Bush. And Elliott, welcome back. First, before we get to your great piece in the Weekly Standard on why this is all happening, the tension between Obama and Netanyahu, et cetera, I mean, is that not as scraping the bottom of the barrel to try to convince Congress why Netanyahu's judgment shouldn't be trusted?
Well, maybe Secretary Kerry should have said, he was for the war before he was against it. I mean, this is unbelievable. By the way, Hillary Clinton also voted for it. So it is. I mean, that's not an argument. That's really ridiculous. It shows you that they're running out of arguments.
You talk about the fact in your piece that as we, of course, anticipate Tuesday morning speech from Netanyahu to the joint session of Congress, that this crisis has been manufactured by the Obama administration, and you see three reasons for it, three goals in mind here.
Well, I think, first of all, they don't like Bibi at all because he's right of center, whereas this is a left-wing administration. So they would like him to lose the election. March 17th is the election in Israel. St. Patrick's Day, not a big holiday in Israel. That's when the election is. They also want, on Iran policy, they want to discredit his argument because the president wants to do whatever deal he can get with Iran. And thirdly, I think the administration is really trying to make support for Israel, which has always been bipartisan, into more of a partisan issue where only Republicans support Netanyahu, and try to undermine the long-term bipartisan support for Israel.
Do you think he will succeed in the latter? I mean, as much as the Democrats have been outspoken, as much as some of them have said, skip that forum, come to a private meeting with us, whatever. I mean, when push comes to shove, although the Republican is the party, the Republicans are the party that support Israel overwhelmingly and to a greater extent, in my view. Nonetheless, there are a lot of Jewish Democrats. There are a lot of Democrats with constituencies that support Israel. Can Obama succeed in that?
The Republican support in every opinion poll is much higher than the Democratic support. I think it's fair to say the president can succeed to some extent. He's trying to get people who are on the left, who are liberals, to choose, which is more important to you, being on the left, being a liberal, or being pro-Israel. And he will get some of them to kind of peel away from their support for Israel. Will he succeed in diminishing overall American support? I don't think so, but he can undermine support in the Democratic Party.
And when you talk about that, I take it to a worldwide scale and what it might do to the anti-Semites in this country as well. I mean, we've seen, the ugly head rearing of horrific things happening to Jews around Europe, and this country, notwithstanding the fact that they'd have you believe otherwise, hate crimes, which I don't believe in that classification, but nonetheless, Jews are always right up there, and Muslims are at the bottom of the list of the top 5, let's say. So, do you think if Obama manages to turn enough Democrats against Israel, if Israel would have to take action against Iran, and then Obama, really makes them into a pariah, what might this do to anti-Jewish sentiment around the world and in this country?
I think you've got a point. I mean, I think it hurts. And, you began with that Kerry quote. What was Kerry actually saying? He was saying, Netanyahu was partly behind the war in Iraq, the Israelis, the Jews, which is, by the way, not true. I mean, I dealt a lot with Prime Minister Sharon and other prime ministers of Israel. They thought we were going after the wrong target. They thought we should be going after Iran, not Iraq. But this is an old anti-Semitic argument. The Jews got us into this. So I thought it was awful. And I think that if the administration continues down this road, what you're doing is you're feeding people who are already anti-Semites. and giving them a little more ammunition.
And finally, less than a minute, you expect Netanyahu's speech to be a roaring educational success, at least?
Yeah, I think, I don't think it's going to be something new. I think, in fact, when he's done talking about the Iran that we all know, the Ayatollahs that we know, I think a lot of people are going to say, what was so terrible about his giving that speech? That was a good speech. And I think most Democrats in Congress will agree with 99% of what he's going to say.
All right, sir. Always great to talk to you. We look forward to hopefully talking to you after the speech. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, folks. Up next, we're going to talk to FCC Commissioner Pai, appointed by President Obama, who voted against net neutrality, and he'll tell us why. Next, don't go away.